We are Squawking Dead, a podcast polarizing episodes beyond the Walking Dead universe. I'm your host, David Cameo, and I'm joined by Cosmom09 Rachel Burt and Sharon D, aka Blazy Gardner. The original trio. Hey, hey, hey! We're here live talking about The Last of Us's 5th episode titled Endure and Survive. I don't think I have it right.
Endure and survive.
For those
and survive.
For those who are privileged enough for the power of hearing, we did ASL. I did it non-existently. Sharon D did it correctly, and probably Rachel did it perfectly. Because that's what you do.
I've been signing for a few years, so
Yeah.
I hope so.
So we are doing a live thing. Hey, Lois Martin. Am I terribly late today?
Hi, Lois.
Okay.
Hi, Lois.
Thank you.
Takira.
Thank you for joining us for Jackbox Games, by the way.
I taught myself ASL, Takira. YouTube is a wonderful tool.
Yeah.
This is not in a good spot. Sorry, David. You can yell at me all you want. I have to move my mic.
There we are.
I know what's coming. I know I'm bad.
No, you'll never know.
Takira, it's hard to keep up when you don't have someone to practice with.
Mm-hmm. And if you don't use it, you lose it.
Yes, you do.
Yeah, bitches.
Yes,
Speaking
yes,
of
you do.
using it or losing it, every time we go on hiatus and we have to come back on again. We whistle while we're trying to do a podcast. Oh wait, you know what? No. Let's complete the theme here. I forgot to open my seltzer today. So hold on a second.
Oh, wait a minute,
I think I've got some Werther's candy. I think I've got some Werther's candy to open.
The most terrible ASMR video ever. Wait, no, wait. No, the fun doesn't end. Hold on.
This is why we go live.
No.
It's more fun to go live.
Listen to that.
Oh, that's amazing.
I guess I get the appeal now for ASMR.
I do really like that. I do really like that sound.
Wait, Lois, never say which words again. What we said yesterday, which was put some stank on it. In our Jackbox Games live stream, which you can join. Well, you can start by following us on Twitch, but also if you enable all notifications, sometimes we go live on Instagram Twitch, YouTube, Facebook to play Jackbox Games, and you could be a part of that. And if you join the Whispers tier or above, you can join us on stream as we play. So, let's start by talking about this episode, which let's start to get first impressions, and I'll start with Sharon D this time. What was your feeling about this episode being sort of like a two-parter for last one?
Well, yeah, it definitely was. I mean, because I know a lot of people thought last week's episode was the weakest of the four. So at that point, but I think having paired it with this episode, it makes a lot more sense. I loved it. Like I cannot get over how much I like this show. Like I love all the detail and the Easter eggs and the little things they do. I don't know. It's just great. It's great. I have no complaints this week. None.
Do you feel like in some ways it's a little simpler than some other shows, or they kind of...
Well, because your cast is way smaller. I mean, it's most, Walking Dead, how many stories did we follow? Game of Thrones, how many stories do you follow?
Yeah.
You have so many people to spread it around on, but this is much more focused. And even when they bring in new characters, they don't last very long.
Exactly.
So,
which I can respect.
Yeah. So I think, yes, it's simpler because it's not as expansive as some of the other shows story-wise.
Right. Well,
but the simpler is good. You get a chance to delve deeper into these characters and learn more about them.
And also focus on film craft
pressured. Too. Yeah, and not feel pressured. And you have to hurry up because you got to fit these 5 other storylines into this one episode. Talking to you, Game of Thrones, because you did that a lot. But it's makes pacing it much easier.
Yeah.
For them and for us watching.
It allows them to sweat the small stuff, I think, too. Meaning, like, instead of racing around and not sloppily, because obviously you can do a lot with many different storylines and get the film craft just right. But if you're the audience is really not going to notice the brilliance behind the filmmaking and the story and all that other stuff if the audience is also simultaneously having to pay attention and remember different facts from different episodes from different storylines that and they didn't go to this storyline in this episode but they did the next 3 episodes, and then you have to remember 4 episodes back that storyline which you already forgot, and you have to like look online to find out what happened or rely on the
previouslys.
exactly. Thank you. Yeah, it keeps it pretty simple. And it allows us to focus on a lot of the things, like, especially in this episode. And I love what they're doing here. I mean, and you pair it with, like, the long, long time episode with Frank and Bill, and it gives you this bigger context. Every episode, and see, here's the thing I know what happens in the games. I think many of us do. And I was wrestling with myself on whether I should reveal. Right. And Rachel's shaking her head for context. For the people who aren't listening to watching us live.
They heard me. They heard me shaking my head.
Right. They felt a vibration, a disappointment in the voice. I was going to. I will say everything that happens. This is a spoiler-free thing that I'm about to say, but everything that happens has a purpose and does prepare us for things that are undoubtedly going to happen, and I like where it's going. There are 3 different groups here that face the possibility of is it worth sacrificing everything just for one person or just for one thing? And it's rough.
Well, I mean, Kathleen blames Henry for that. You know, you threw away everything for Sam. You caused all this for Sam, but she's doing the exact same thing. Like the exact same thing, and she's risking everything, and as we see, losing everything, because she's focusing on this one thing, this one person. And is it worth losing? Is it worth losing everything for this one person? I mean, ask yourself that, Kathleen.
And every one of them does it. Every single one of them does it, and one of them will do it. But what I liked about this episode is that for all the criticisms people gave Melanie Lynskey for her performance, this episode was an answer to that question. And seeing her lean into it and say, oh, I'm self-aware. I know what I'm doing. I never said I wasn't the monster. I'm the ugly one, she says, about, comparing herself to Michael, against Michael.
What makes that even more poignant is Henry says the same thing to Joel. I know I'm the bad guy because I did bad guy things.
Yes. I love how
it's an exact reflection of each other.
Right. And I love how, like, he used, because I did bad guy things, and, like, there's the superhero motif between he and Sam, and like, oh yeah, comic books, villain, bad guy things. So yeah, it's brilliant, isn't it?
In that show Station 11, which I watched recently, one of the recurring themes throughout the whole show that's in the book that it's centered around Station 11 is to the monsters, we are the monsters. And I think that was very evident in this too. To the monsters, we're the monsters. Like, to Sam and Henry, they're the monsters because they're trying to kill them. But to Kathleen and the others, Sam and Henry are the monsters for taking Michael away.
Right, whom they all loved, etc.
Right.
I love the irony of the fact that, like, the thing that I wanted to go back to what you said about Kathleen, and I think it was how basically she never says she was a good guy. It makes it seem as though this whole revolution thing, even though she got it done in the end, the reason why she got it done is because Michael got killed. It was because Michael was informed on.
Definitely. Michael got killed, and that was the spark that she used to rally, because it only happened 10 days ago. This is very, very recent.
Crazy.
And it also had Henry giving up Michael also had to be very recent, because otherwise Henry would have gotten the hell out of there way sooner.
Right.
But I feel like they killed Michael, and then immediately, she stepped in and took on the reins and was like, because they killed Michael, let's do this. Let's take them out.
Let's round up all the collaborators. Yeah.
But then again, they did by when they took out Fedra, as we see in the beginning, they did the exact same things that Fedra did to them.
Perhaps worse.
There was no mercy. There was no let's try to work together. And I feel like had Michael lived, maybe they could have worked out something between them, like because he was a conciliator, right? He was everybody would follow him, and he was forgiving, and I feel like maybe they could have had a different outcome between them and Fedra, but because he was murdered, they automatically rose up and took out Fedra,
Right.
and that changed everything.
Which goes to kind of
Because
what. Oh, go ahead. Sorry.
if Henry hadn't given him up in the first place, then they wouldn't have had this whole
Their freedom.
they wouldn't have
Quote,
had
unquote.
Everybody looking for Henry, which ended up killing everybody in the end.
Henry is what made it happen, basically. What gave them their freedom, but at a tremendous cost, essentially.
Yeah, the
Right.
freedom to get turned into fungus because everybody in that town is dead now.
Basically, yeah. Let me go to some comments before we continue because they're starting to scroll away from me. Lois says, it was really good. It was really good bit. They were really killing off people fast. Yes, for all the people who said, where are the clickers? Not enough clickers. But you got the clickers. It's like the Arby's. We have the meat. The fake impossible meat that is on legs and pounds things. And anyway.
Rips heads off.
Yeah. Ooh, can't wait to get to that. Walking Dead Eternal says the clicker who killed Kathleen looked like Chucky. Yeah. Yeah, she's a gymnast too,
Okay,
a
wait.
contortionist.
Right. That little girl, she's 9 years old, and she was a fan of the games.
Oh.
Even before they made the show. Like she didn't play it, but like I think her dad did or something. And so she made an audition tape and sent it in, and they made that role just for her.
That scene was so fucking creepy.
Yeah. So let me look up her name real quick. Hold on.
Okay. While I say that, it sounds like a lot of the clickers are the mocap actors who played clickers in the game or games came back to be actual clickers in the show too.
Her name is Skye, Skye Cowton. She's at Skye Cowton on COWTON on Instagram.
Gotcha.
Yeah.
And she's probably on TikTok. They're all on the TikTok.
Yeah. But she's got some videos on there. I was watching like, whoa.
Too many to be comfortable admitting out loud. No, I'm kidding. I watched a 9-year-old. Anyway, Walking Dead Eternal says, oh yeah, so he says, killed Kathleen looked like Chucky and that the big one looked like the Hulk. Or Thing, I think more accurately. The Thing, or no, it's Thing from the Fantastic Four. Because the orange stones and stuff like that. Mm-hmm. Lois says, but, and I'll skip to her next comment. She says, so we meet Sam and Henry just like that. They're gone. Yeah, exactly. Exactly what we said at the top. Which, like, yeah, is sad. And it definitely is sad. And we'll talk about that a little bit more. But it does go to what we were saying in the beginning of the show, which was at least we're not tangling with several storylines at the same time. Or, like, even just character development that we have to keep track of and stuff. It's kind of like it's good for us, but bad for everybody else who's watching the shows. But let me go to Takira. She says, when that damn bloater came out, I was screaming so loud. Lol. But I've been saying over and over that I screamed through the whole episode. Yeah. You know, I would not want to be around while watching the show with you. So it's very distracting. Takira also says, Lois, I wanted Sam and Harry to survive this episode so bad, but the more stuff that happened, the more I realized neither would. Yeah, I also had that sinking feeling deep in the pit of my stomach. Rachel, do you feel the same way? Because you're like the queen of I predicted that. Are you okay? You just went silent. Okay. You're just staring into space. Just to describe.
Oh.
What was happening just now.
There's a lot going on. I thought you were reading stuff.
I was going to. I wanted to take a break though.
Yeah.
I'm tired. My tongue is like, tied. No, I'm kidding. Okay, Walking Dead Eternal says those clickers came out of the ground literally like spiders. Agreed.
Yeah.
Also a response to the audience. It was like, you want clickers? You want clickers? Here are the clickers. And then it's like, remember like the mummy? When the mummy, the guy that plays the mummy, like he holds his hands out and he opens his mouth and all of a sudden the sand just comes up behind. That's what the clickers look like. It was like, okay,
Billy
here.
Zane?
What was that?
Billy Zane?
No, it's not Billy Zane actually.
Not that one.
No, not that one. The one with
Oh.
Brendan Fraser.
Oh, that's
The first one with Brendan Fraser.
Yeah, that's
I don't
Billy Zane,
remember
isn't
the.
it?
No, that wasn't Billy. The actor wasn't
no.
Billy
His name
Zane.
is Amu
Oh.
Raslo, something like to
Yeah.
that effect.
Oh.
Arno something. Arno. He's Arno.
He's
Okay.
Arno.
Another Arno. Another Arno.
Yeah. Let's see. Takir says, Rachel, you make me want to put my hoodie on. Laughing my ass off with many O's. Okay. So,
Do you want my first impressions?
hell yeah, I want your first impressions. God damn it.
Fuck this show.
Okay.
That's my first impressions.
I love it.
Fuck this show for making me feel things and care about people and then taking them away. Fuck
I mean,
this show.
aren't you used to that though? Like that was. We all met because of a show just like that.
That took so
Yeah,
many things away
right?
from us and people
Yeah,
that
well,
don't
it
exist
took- it
away
took-
from us.
It took 7 years for somebody I actually cared about to be killed off. So no, I'm not totally used to it.
Wow. Get some feelings. So, but let's
Yeah.
You mean Kathleen, right? Like she was so cool.
No, my beautiful bearded silver fox, Harry.
Well, it just proves that he's your type, Rachel.
We were waiting for this moment. We have been waiting for this moment. Yes,
I mean,
Rachel has a type.
It's gonna
Dead guys.
it goes the way all your crushes go because it's like this weird paradox because you can't like them
Right?
unless they're dead. So that's your life. Is
So
That's
just
swooning
it.
over
just
dead
to let
people.
you know, 5 seasons in on Yellowstone, and the Sam Elliott looking dude is still alive. So
Oh,
just
okay.
telling you. Just,
Not
just
it-
telling
Wait,
you.
Sam Elliott looking dude?
Rachel's like
Yeah.
not interested. Is he dead yet?
Is he
Not
dead
for
yet?
me. Not for me.
That's my.
I
first
mean,
question.
I still got
When is he
7
dead
episodes
yet?
to find out. I still got 7 episodes to find
Oh,
out.
okay.
So
I have all the episodes. Watched 0.
Yes.
I promise I'll get Peacock. I just canceled Showtime, so I'll get Peacock now.
So more than that, though, I was actually really upset, and maybe there's a reason, I don't know, but Perry died in a pretty awesome way. But it was like in the background. I would have really enjoyed seeing that up close.
I'm kind of
Just saying.
glad that just seems like an awful way to go. Like
what got me was he was
It would
still
be
yelling.
instant, though.
He was still yelling even as he pulled his head off. I was like, yes.
so the little hole in his neck went. Terrible people
No,
we
he was
are.
like, no.
If I'm
You-
gonna
wait,
lose
hold on,
him, I want to
Sharon.
see it
You
up
just
close.
guaranteed that I will never watch that episode again. Now, just because I had a thing. I saw the beheading of that one guy in the Middle East, and it just brings back memories.
Do you remember those toys that were like it had a little bulb on the end and you could pop them into other toys and
Oh,
it made like
light
it was like
brights.
the top. No, not light brights.
What?
They're like big plastic toys, and like one end has a hole on it. They look like bulbs kind of, and one end has a hole and the other one has a little prong that sticks out. And like when you're a kid, you can stick them together and make chains out of them. They're like for
the
toddler
little
toys,
plastic
right?
chains. Yeah.
Right, they're like little
Oh,
toddler toys.
okay.
Gotcha.
So when he popped his
my
head off, that was what made me think of when he popped his head off was popping that thing off.
I love her imagination. Sorry, Rach. I'm sorry I cut you off, but it was just a trigger.
Yeah, sorry, Rachel.
No, I said what I needed to say. I wanted to see it up close. I wanted to see it up close.
Let me also you keep talking. I'm gonna
That's all.
pause your uploads while I do things.
Yeah, and Sam and Henry. I
was-
mean, that was
It was all
a kick
right.
in the guts too.
I mean,
Like,
I
I mean, I felt it coming, like you said, I felt it coming, but like how it all went down, like fuck, if I didn't feel what Henry was feeling, like he was like out of his mind, like totally outer body experience, like what just happened.
yeah.
I feel and he
I
really
felt
he
that.
really sold it too. I mean, think about who his
Kudos
decisions
on
up.
the acting.
Yeah, right. Up until
Mm-hmm.
that point, you're talking about a guy who sold out a man he actually loved, Michael. It seemed Kathleen's
Admired,
brother,
yeah.
and he says would follow him to the ends of the earth. Sort of is kind of what he says, but did it to save his brother, right? Similar to Joel and Tommy as well. Joel would probably go to the ends of the earth to save Tommy as well.
I mean, he is, isn't he?
Technically, yeah. There you go. Endure and survive. And so here he is, facing the fact that it was all for nothing too, facing off against somebody
So
who did the same.
I feel like futility is the theme of this episode. Like, and it's a theme that's in a lot of shows like The Walking Dead, but we never really touch on it that much. But the futility of what he did, and of what anybody does. Like Carl is an example. Everything that Rick did to keep Carl alive, and it was all a futile effort because Carl died anyway. And I felt this way with Sam and Henry. Everything Henry did to save Sam, and in the end, it was all futile. It was all futile. He died anyway.
And you're supposed to do it, and which kind of goes to Kathleen's comment, right? It it was fate, and in the end, and it makes Kathleen weirdly right. And maybe that's what's so great about her character, is that she was basically telling everybody, this is how it's going. This guy's not my seventh priority. Well, let's give him a month. Why not? No, she's telling everybody, this is how it's going to go down. I will take every single one of you down with me in the pursuit. And Perry's like, yeah, I liked Michael. Sure, yeah, I loved him. Yeah, yeah, I heard you the first time. Let's kill some kids. Sure. And but it's more than just futility. It's what is that? It's like Macbeth, right? The idea of unbridled ambition. Now, I'm not saying that that's what happened in Macbeth even, but it's this whole, and it's not even ambition, of course. It's like obsession. It's, I have to have this at all costs. Everybody be damned. And so it's fate. If you want it that badly, be careful what you wish for, because you might just get it. Like Kathleen got it from that acrobatic clicker girl, which is so rad too.
Which, and also is
Yeah.
poetic, right? Because she was like, fucking kids die, and here comes a dead
All
kid
the
to
time.
take her out. Yes. But she's not wrong either. Kids
Right.
do die all the time.
Right.
I mean, even in today's society, that's not an apocalypse, kids die all the time.
And continue that sentence. So what makes them special? Well, they make them special to me, and that's the
Right.
difference. So
Well, that's where you come into the needs of the many against the needs of the needs of the few against the needs of the many. You know?
or the one, right?
Yeah.
So let's go back to that. Let's read some more comments before more disappear. Takira says, "This is sorry. This is what they did to us throughout the entire season 11 of The Walking Dead. I'm still not over Hart being killed so fast." Right, from the Riverbend community. Yeah, gone too soon. But I think that's weird because, in a sense, I was a little relieved. I was upset that the whole community got screwed in the end, but also relieved that we didn't have to follow their story on like way retrospect. Because at the time I was livid. I wanted to see Hart. I liked what a badass character, right? Anyway, so let me continue reading. Takira says, "Oh my God, Rachel, I was so upset when he got killed. Perry, he was way too hot for that." Oh, there's a whole conversation I need to have on this, but yes. Walking Dead Eternal says, "When is Yellowstone coming back?" We'll if you want to put it in the comments, Sharon, if you have it open. Go
I
ahead.
have no idea when it's coming back. We
there
don't
you
know
go.
yet.
Takira also says, "I saw the video too, Dave." Yeah, see, yeah. Well, we won't talk about that. I don't even want to talk about it in the event that you actually find it and watch it. You think it's not going to be as disturbing as it is, and it's
I
just way
don't
too
even
disturbing.
want to ever. What has been seen cannot be unseen.
Unfortunately
you.
for me. Fuck. Okay, potato. Lois says potato heads. It was like more like a cabbage patch head, right? In this one. Lois says, "But I really like that I didn't see that coming." Yeah, did any of you see that coming? When the Earth started going and started swallowing up the truck, I was like, "Oh, it's happening. It's totally happening."
Yeah. Yeah.
Okay. Lois also says it keeps it interesting for me anyway. Yeah, and you know what? That's the thing. Let's talk about this for just a hot sec, because we haven't really talked about the Walking Dead news at all, TWDU news. But the Daryl Dixon spinoff, there are many, many people that have been taking photos, not only of the Daryl Dixon spinoff in France, but also like Dead City. They've been doing that for the last several months. And a lot of the Daryl Dixon on-set photos from amateur photographers. It's one of those things where I get it. People are dying for crumbs, for Walking Dead crumbs, and it's like I got to get me some of that Norman Reedus action on set, doing the thing that I love watching. But I don't know about you gals, and maybe we can comment on this for a really hot sec. How do you feel when you see these shots? Because for my part, it's like I just don't want to see how the sausage is made until maybe after, maybe, and
I
even
don't
then
know
by
how this
somebody
is
who knows what they're
possible.
doing.
I don't know how it's possible, but I haven't seen any of them.
I'm
I
glad. I mean,
I
for if that's what
stay
you care about.
away.
Yeah.
I haven't been active on Twitter at all. And I haven't been very active on
Oh,
Facebook
I
or
don't.
Instagram. But as far as those things go, I don't really want to see them. I want to be
No.
surprised. I don't want to know what's coming. I happened to see something from Dead City a while back, and I was like, I did not want to see that. Thank you very much for showing me something I on like almost forcing me to see it because there was no spoiler warning, no cover, nothing. Just boom, here it is, and I'm like, I didn't want
Was
to
it
see that.
Maggie and Negan naked in bed?
No, I'd be crowing about that one. I'd be like, yes, I told you.
But you know what? Would you? You'd be like, I wanted to be shocked when it actually happened because you didn't think it really would. You're just making fun of it.
No, if a picture like that came out, I would just assume it was a Photoshop.
Yeah, same here.
Yeah.
Same here.
Yeah.
Da-da-da.
Yeah, I'm on Twitter like maybe twice a month, so it's easy for me to stay away from that stuff.
So I will
I
say,
saw some pictures that AMC released today from Daryl Dixon. The AMC released them though, not
oh yeah, because they're
just
production
somebody. Yeah.
stills. It's like that's what I'm talking about. Also, it's not only is it really amateur bad photos by probably bad people on somewhere in the distance on
They're
set.
the monsters.
Monster, but like Tales of the Walking Dead. But it's the fact that they're just so bad. They're bad photos too, and so like you don't really have the clever framing of the shot. So you're like, oh, I wonder what's going on here, right? It looks good, and you're like, oh, what's happening here, as intended, right? They frame it in a way that it looks like it's from the show. Like, oh, there's a scene that I'm watching here, not like actually Norman Reedus running around with a wire on his back, or Maggie and Negan, or sorry, Jeffrey Dean Morgan and Lauren Cohan. But if you are interested in watching things like that, I know there's an account that I follow. He's a good dude. His name is Chris. It's XRIZZZ on Twitter and Instagram. So if you want to follow him, you can go there. He has all the goods on that. It's like his thing. So let me keep going with the comments just for a sec. Da-da-da. Okay, so here it says his first instinct was to get rid of the monster. Then it clicked that the monster was his brother that he risked everything for. He truly lost it. I just felt so bad for all of them. Yeah, that's a really good way of putting it, Takira.
So remember, I can't remember if it was the last episode or the episode before, but Joel told Ellie to make sure she kept her arm covered up because people would just shoot and not even think twice about it. And Henry just proved that point. He just shot his brother and didn't even think about it because he was infected.
Wow. I didn't even think of it that way at all. Lois says this show will throw you a curveball every episode so far. I really, really like that, and simply
Well,
too.
let me ask you this though. Henry shot Sam after he had turned. I mean, he was clear attacking in the midst of attacking Ellie. I don't think he would have shot him the night before just because he was infected. Do you? He wouldn't. I don't think he would have shot him until he actually turned.
I like how that's
No,
a good
true.
question.
But Joel might have.
Yeah,
Joel probably definitely would have tried to.
which
Absolutely.
is why he shoots at Joel, too. Right when
Yeah.
all this action's happening, he's like, it's like I don't want anybody to have to do this. It does go back to that comment about that Lieutenant Kublik says to Huck back in the CRM in the Walking Dead World Beyond. It's like, if anybody's gonna punish you, it's gonna be me. I'd rather it be me than anybody else.
If your life's gonna get ruined, let me be the one that ruins it.
Right, and I think there's also like this weird quick thing. It's not even that quick. This moment feels like it lasts forever, where he's going back and forth between dead Sam and Joel and dead Sam and Joel. But even before that, there's like this moment where it's like, I don't want to have to resent you by you taking him down in a sense. It's like you've
It's like let me do it, but give me a second.
yeah, because
Yeah.
and
Yeah.
it's so realistic to see somebody having just a processing error after all of this, after everything we've been through. This is how it goes down, right? And so when you see, it does kind of go back to what he says about Michael. You know, I was willing to follow this guy, willing to trust this guy, willing to go with this guy. He was that kind of person that you're willing to go along with him. He does the same thing with Joel. I'm willing to trust you, and I did. And even when there was like this moment when the sniper came out while they're on the street, that suburban street ish, and there's this moment where Henry grabs Sam and they book it, and then the sniper bullet fires in front of them, shoots somewhere in front of them. He goes, "Nope, going back to the car, shelter the car," which like okay, he has this moment where he's like, okay, it's every man for himself, and then he just goes right back to Joel. He could have kept going, probably could have gotten hurt, but he went
Probably
instead.
would've- yeah.
He went back to Joel instead and trusted it, and
Would've
then
been
he trusts Ellie to take Sam away by giving himself up, and then you get to the end, and it's like, I'm not letting you. This is me. This is my burden. You know. Let me just finish with the comments. Oh, Takir says the truck started sinking, and Richie goes, "Remember where they said the clickers went?" And I just said, "Oh shit!" And then they busted out one of the best scenes from yeah, and they busted out in a way that I didn't expect. The level to which they said, "You want clickers? Here's clickers." Lo says, "I stay away also from the spoilers." He's saying. Takira says, "For me, because of the huge delay and fear starting, I didn't want to see snippets of a show that's not coming out until the end of the year." Like we have no Walking Dead at all, so I don't want to be reminded. I was about to say the same thing on social media, actually. It's kind of saying something to the effect. I was going to say something to the effect of, I'd rather not see anything at all. But then I also don't want to project. I don't want to project my thing on others. That's why I gave you the account of the person I think you should follow. If you do want that sort of thing, I don't begrudge anybody who wants this stuff. But I feel like, is that what you really, my thing is like, I care about you, right? I care about all of you. Is that what you really want, though? You want the show. The show's not coming.
Yes.
You're just
I
like,
want the show.
you're just edging yourself, and you're not going to get off anytime soon. So, sorry. I had to put it that way. But it's true. It's true. You're just making yourself hurt, I think.
Yeah. No, I'm like that too because my brain starts going wild if I see little snippets or images of something, and then my
Our
brain
stupid
won't turn
podcast
off, and I'm
brain.
like, what? Yeah, I'm like, oh man, and I start going
What could
through all
be
the
happening?
theories, and I'm
What could be going
yeah,
on?
I'd rather not because
And we're
my
always
mind will go
wrong.
one direction. Yes, my mind will go one direction, and then we find out what the truth is, and I'm like, oh,
I feel like I should say this also. Some people have already said that Melissa McBride's going to be in season 2. I have not seen any confirmation of that, really.
I think that's wishful thinking.
That was like from that's very noisy. That there was an implication from Angela Kang that says, "Oh, she will show up in the Walking Dead universe," and everybody kind of assumed it would be season 2 of the Daryl Dixon spinoff. So,
How about we all stop making assumptions and just sit back and watch and wait?
but I'm willing to hear out anybody who actually has just good evidence that it is the case that she will show up in season 2.
I'd rather
I'd rather not
surprised
know, yeah.
than disappointed.
And-
Oh,
and-
AMC will
pleasantly
spoil
surprised,
you way
disappointed.
before you can be surprised.
Yeah, exactly.
This is true. That's
Exactly.
That's when I'll believe it.
I'll say that on top
That's when I'll believe it.
on top of that, even if it was the case that somebody says, "Oh she's we're already filming," anything can change, and she could be cut out of it too, and they'll have to refilm everything. It's happened. It's totally happened. So I'd rather not know. Oh, Madison's coming back. Yeah, after they told us she wasn't. Come on, guys. Oh, well.
Thomas, the bakery has hens because that's the only way they can afford eggs these days.
Yes. Exactly.
To what Thomas says, what kind of bakery has hens? Not to mention 2 of them. That's what it just had to.
Gotta have eggs.
Yeah, there you go.
Gotta have those eggs to bake.
Oh,
Shit.
says, I don't even have Twitter. Okay, Tahira says, real quick, I just wanted to say that people are complaining about how Daryl's story is starting over there. I kind of feel like, what else did you expect? Also, whatever. You're going to watch it anyway. Just enjoy it.
I
Probably.
do hope they like tell us how he got over there though.
Ooh, I
I
hope
would
it's
like to
like the
Swam.
know how it
dam. Like we never
happened.
know and find
He
out in
swam.
Fear the Walking Dead. I'm kidding.
That would be so annoying.
He finally
I
took
mean,
a
of course
bath.
I would watch, but
Yeah, yeah.
he
See,
took a
told you.
bath. I mean, not if
He
you went to
swam over there.
France.
He
Yeah,
swam over there. That's how he
and,
took
and
his
he's
bath.
still dirty with all that salt water. Anyway, whatever.
It's where the oil slicks in the ocean came from.
Oh, he cleaned up the oceans with his body.
Okay. So Melanie Linsky. I'm sorry. Excuse me.
Oh, yeah, thank you.
Sorry about that.
The audience
Melanie
thanks you.
Linsky. I was listening to another podcast that was reading an article that she said that when they approached her to play this part, they told her to imagine that she was Jesus's sister, and there's this man that everybody looks up to, and everybody wants to follow. And you're cool, you're okay, nothing wrong with you, but everybody loves him,
It's like Life of
and
Brian.
then he's gone. And what would what would you do? So I thought that was a very interesting way for them to present the story
Right.
to the character to her and how she was going to play it.
And I get it. She has to fill those shoes.
Oh yeah. I want to say how much I appreciate her acting, not just in the show, but like everything that she's done. I've seen her in other things, and I think she's an absolutely amazing actress. And that's when that scene opens and she's standing in that room before she even says anything. Like I knew immediately that that was her childhood bedroom, just by the way, the look on her face, the way she was acting, the just her all around presence. Like I knew, like she is such a great actress. I knew exactly where she was before she even told us.
And I've listened to so many people talk about that she wasn't cast right and she was bad casting for the part.
Is that
And
in comparison to the game? Is that
no,
No,
because the
it's
character
there's no
doesn't exist in the
comparison.
game.
Right.
The
oh
character doesn't exist
oh
in the game.
I thought she did fantastic.
Yeah, and everybody, not everybody, but people that I was listening to, they were saying
Yeah.
that she was cast wrong and she just didn't fit the part, and that they that she was the only thing wrong with it was her not being right for the part. But
Wow.
I think she is, because
Mm-hmm.
she's playing it as someone who is unsure of herself, and because that was the complaint. For a leader, she's unsure of herself, and she doesn't seem very,
I don't even agree with that.
strident and everything. But the point is, because she wasn't the leader,
Right.
she was thrust into that leadership position after the murder of her brother.
Yeah. I
And
don't even.
I
Oh, go ahead. Sorry.
no, I was gonna say, I hope that those people, maybe this changed their mind once they found that out, because I was very,
Episode 5, right?
yeah, I didn't like
Mm-hmm.
that people were like basically saying that she wasn't a good actress in the part, and I was like, no, that
Oh,
is not
she's.
the case at all.
I think she played it perfectly. She
But
nailed what they asked her to do.
yeah, and I think I don't even agree with the fact that she was unsure of herself. Really, I think she was super. I think she had to be
She.
super sure of herself.
Yeah, I
And
would agree.
it
I
like
love the I love when she's like, "You're informers, inform." Like, it's just the way she delivered that line was perfect.
yeah.
And like in the last week's episode, when she was with the doctor, and he was like, "I had a gun pointed in my face," and so she pulled her gun out. She's like, "Have I satisfied your requirements necessary for you to talk?" And I loved her delivery. I thought she was perfect. I thought she was perfect.
It pairs well to
Mm-hmm.
what Joel says at the beginning of this episode to the boys when they kind of sneak up on him. He does the thing where it's like everything's okay. It's like very like,
I know.
oh yeah, sure, everything's
I don't
great.
like your tone. Your tone
What
worries
tone
me.
should I
That's
have?
just his tone. He
Is
just
this
has an asshole
okay?
voice. I love
Yeah.
the humor they infuse in the show, because you have a very tense, very scary situation, and they still manage to make it very funny. Like, just so understatedly funny. I love it.
I feel like it was what was yeah, it's somewhat like the Blair Gina episode in Tales of the Walking Dead where you're like, I'm not should I am I supposed to laugh? I'm not sure. I'm okay. No, this is good. I'm just not sure because I'm very nervous right now. And this is playing out like I know it's like it's very because it's silly. It's very silly, but it's very tense. But I'm gonna say arguably they they did it much better in The Last of Us. I mean, not to compare. Obviously, trying not to compare apples with oranges, but it was it came at it, it's just that it came out of nowhere. Blair Gina was constantly silly.
That was my favorite episode
Yeah.
of Tales because it was so funny and out there.
Oh no, we're not. No, no. You know what? You know what? We'll read it in a second. Don't worry. Don't worry. I'll go back to it. Rachel, you can say it too. It's fine.
Can she? I'm not sure she'll be able to get the
No,
words out.
I'll say it. Fine. So, no, I wanted to. Oh, the childhood bedroom thing.
Good mute.
So I was. No, you're fine. You're fine. The speaking of her childhood bedroom, there was one thing that I wanted to bring up, and that was, I really like you. I really liked the way her body language told that story. How she was kind of just taking a break from knowing that what she has to do is pretty ugly, and Michael definitely, she explains later, wouldn't want her to do this. And there was something about like needing to center herself at home that kind of brought me back, because I used to do this thing where my uncle still lives in the town where I grew up in, and pay attention to me. Just look at me. Don't look at the chat. So I'm not looking at the screen right now. But
Okay.
I don't know. Have you guys done that? Have you done that where you've gone to your own childhood home, or just kind of circled the
Yes.
block where it was? And how did that make you feel too? Because I do
cried.
want to link it to this episode. Right. So you cried,
Nostalgic.
Yes. Yeah, I cried.
but
Nostalgic.
at the same time you cried also because you can't go back to. Like
I
you-
wanted to.
Like you're back.
I wanted to.
Yeah, same here. But it's like, even if you go back, it's somebody else's floors, it's somebody else's decor. It's not the way you exactly remember it.
Well,
Things
my
are different.
childhood home is like around the corner from me. Like I could walk there right now and it would be nothing. And I knew the people that lived there. So she invited me in and like let me walk around, and I'm like, the couch is in the wrong spot.
Yeah. No, so even if you know them, even if you're inside, it's not. It's like you can never go back. I don't know. There's something about that I really like, and maybe that's. I like that little bit of struggle that you don't really see in Kathleen, but it's as though she's either saying goodbye. Like, I need to go full evil, and I need to say goodbye to that beautiful part of me that represents Michael in order to do.
Well, even no, but
what I
even
have
she
to
said
do.
she had never had a. She said she never had a beautiful part. She said it herself. She goes, he was beautiful, but I never was.
Well, here's the thing.
She even admitted it.
I think he represents the beautiful part of her. That's what it is. Like, and maybe it's that he kept her beautiful or made her see the beauty in things. It's why she wasn't part of the resistance. It's like, not really, right?
Did we get like a age difference between them? Like,
was gonna bring
one
that up as
older? Was
well.
one younger? Were they twins? Like, what did we ever was anything like that mentioned?
I don't think so.
I do feel like Michael was the older of the two. I mean, he was
Well,
the one.
like he was the comfort. Like he comforted her when she was scared in the room, and I
He
think
made up the stories. Okay, I
Right,
got the impression he was older, but I didn't know if it was said at any point.
Henry at
I
some
think
point
that,
calls him like a man. I know the way he kind of describes Michael was like a man, like the kind of man, or I don't know if he said old man or older man or something in the way he said it. I wish I'd written it down. Like, it made it seem like he was laughing. That he was like an older person.
I think a lot of it too is Michael made her feel safe, right? And now that he's gone, she doesn't feel safe anymore. She's afraid. She wasn't afraid when he was there, and now she's afraid. And
going back to what
fear makes you do. Well, I mean, fear leads to anger.
Makes you stupid.
Anger
Stupid
makes you
gets
leads
stupid.
killed.
to hate.
Oh.
Hate leads
Stupid
to
gets
suffering.
killed.
So
Star Wars, right? Isn't it?
yeah, Yoda.
And
Yoda was very wise.
and TWDU, anger makes you stupid. Stupid gets you killed.
And
right?
I mean, but her anger and her fear did lead to everybody suffering because now they're all fucking dead.
I'm not even sure if it's fear, but I just feel like I feel like she really committed. I feel like she went full Sith before she knew what going full Sith would mean. Like she had to be sure of herself. And she had to let go of that beautiful part of herself because that ugly part of herself made them win the war, the revolution, right? So I don't know. But anyway, let's go to the comments. Like, hey, Rachel, what did the mermaid wear under her shirt? No, you know what? It keeps going though. Thomas says, anyway, Takira says she definitely wanted him she definitely wanted him no matter what. The same way Henry couldn't live without his brother. She couldn't live without hers, and neither could Henry when he lost him. Right. And there's the person responsible technically really is dead. So who else is there to blame but
I mean, everybody's dead now.
himself?
Except I am very curious where Kathleen's mother is. I don't think she was out there.
Oh, I
fighting.
wanted.
So
Well, I
are
mean,
we
the
gonna
whole
see her mom
town,
again?
the whole town wasn't out there, but now that the
Right.
zombies are on the loose, the Kansas City QZ they're all dead. They're just going to come in and attack them.
I also wanted to make it pretty.
So she's dead too.
I also want to make it pretty clear that I don't know what age they're purporting Kathleen to be compared to her brother at present day. But we have to also remember that there's a 20-year time jump. So if she's in her, let's just say she's in her 40s, even late 40s. This whole thing started when they were in their 20s, or she was in her 20s at the very least. It's still pretty young. It's still pretty, you're kind of getting your footing. You don't really know what's going on. Like in peaceful times, you're like a baby. I'm in college maybe, or just out of college and don't really know what life is. And all of a sudden, just like Kathleen had to take over the revolution, you have to suddenly become an adult and you have to figure things out. But she, so she doesn't know what she's doing, but she feels like she has to be sure. Takir says, nope, not going to say what Thomas said. Takir says Blair Jean was definitely my favorite episode. And Thomas says, why'd the Scarecrow win an award? Takira says, my childhood home was just sold like 2 years ago. And when I lived in town, my grandma lived there. Yeah.
I went back to my childhood home a couple of years ago, and they tore it down because it was on a 2-acre lot. So they tore it down and built 2 different houses on it. So
That's sad.
my childhood home is no longer there.
It's not even.
That's so sad.
I almost don't know.
Progress, right?
I don't know. I almost don't know what's worse though, right? If it's there and you want to go back, or if it's not there and you can't. Like you literally physically can't. Because now I've made it a point to myself to not go back. Was that?
They're both pretty bad in their own ways.
I mean, right now I've made an active decision to not go back anymore. I used to go every Thanksgiving.
If I could afford it, I would just buy my childhood home. When I was a kid and we moved out of that house, that was like my sole goal. That was like my focus. My goal was to buy that house back.
I didn't have that big of a dream, but I get you. I feel you so hard. For years, 6 years, maybe more, I mourned. It's crazy. Rachel, in response to all of Thomas's jokes, which are good, I'll just say a few. Time flies like an arrow. Fruit flies like a banana. To the guy who invented zero, thanks for nothing. Rachel says, you gotta stop. What kind of concert only costs 45 cents? A 50-cent concert.
No, he had a crazy dream.
Last night, I was swimming in an ocean of orange soda. Turns out it was just a fantasy. Ladies, if you can't appreciate your fruit jokes, you need to let that man go. Man go.
You can tune a piano, but you can't tune a fish.
Anyways. Felt irrelevant. Okay, anyway.
Irrelevant.
Why did the chicken hide? Why did the chicken hide? Why did the Easter egg hide? Because he was a little chicken.
Oh, I hope these jokes don't come back on the show. This is how this is going to go down. Listen, I don't blame you. I would be doing the same exact thing as you, Thomas. Honestly and legitimately, consistently.
I'm crying.
So, I read an article about the making of the bloater suit.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, and
The
so
the thing
the
costume.
guy that it was mostly practical effects, a little bit of CGI, but mostly practical effects.
Wow, that's
So
really surprising,
Was the
actually.
CGI just for scale? Is that what it was?
I'm not. They didn't really go into that part,
Okay.
but so the suit, the guy that they got to play him also was in Game of Thrones.
Hmm.
I think he played one of the White Walkers.
Cool.
Anyway, so they took a cast of his body, and then they built the suit in sections: head, arms, legs, and they had them all. They made it out of foam. It's like I forget the name of it, but they said it's almost like upholstery foam, like a couch, like in a couch.
It's probably a
It's
foam
very
latex.
yeah. I think that was foam latex. So
Mhm.
they said they were describing how they wanted it, and they were talking about pendulous folds of fungus, and so it's all sculpted, and the entire suit weighs like 88 pounds
Whew.
and has
Sounds about
zippers.
right.
They zip the guy into it. They said it takes like an hour to get him in the suit, and
Guys, I
then
have to
then
pee.
because they want it to like stand out in the first to look like fungus, and they also want it to stand out in the firelight, so they coated it with like this jelly stuff
Like to make it
and
iridescent.
to make it really shiny. And they're like how much weight that added on to the suit.
Oh,
And they said they were like, in between we'd have to stop filming to go slather more jelly and stuff on this guy. But it's
more
really interesting,
jelly.
Rachel. I think you would really enjoy reading about it because it was really interesting.
Yeah, you're gonna have to
Also,
send me that
it
that
cost a
article.
small fortune
Just to get
for
that
that
right.
thing.
Wow.
Yeah.
Oh, I bet. I bet. Foam
Right.
latex is very absorbent. So I'm sure like every time they had to slather on more jelly, it probably just soaked up and added another 5 pounds, 10
Yeah.
pounds every time they had to do it.
Yeah. It was really interesting. It was really interesting read. I'll send you the link later.
Oh, this
Okay,
keeps
I
going.
can't.
Where's everybody
Thomas,
else? Everybody else is dying from Thomas's jokes in the chat.
what
Which
do you use to cut a Roman emperor's hair? Caesar.
Caesars. I lost my mood ring and I don't know how to feel
Oh
about
my
it.
gosh.
I'll be here all week. Try the veal, he says. Anyway,
Oh my gosh.
so I was gonna say something on the note of that, but I don't. So last week we had talked about
suit.
right. Last week what we had said, what would that look like? A bloater in a TV series that doesn't do the spores as the transmission mechanism. Well, it's
There you go.
basically
He
imagine
looked
feel.
he looked like Groot got trapped on the Fear the Walking Dead set and got exploded with nuclear bombs. He looks like a nuclear irradiated Groot.
Mm-hmm.
Oh man, yeah, that's
It
pretty
did.
accurate. Yeah,
It
yeah.
did.
But
Mhm.
it looked like basically a suit of mycelial armor. It just enhanced his strength. Because I don't know if they're going to do this on the show, but because in reality, what the cordyceps do in real life, and this is something that they didn't think of when they were doing the video game. In the video game, they make it seem as though it's in the brain, but really, the cordyceps attack the muscle fibers. So that the scary part is the thing that we were saying about what if the guy was in there, the infected that was in the basement that we're saying, oh, he nodded, maybe, or there was a connection with Ellie and the infected that was spooky. Well, it could actually be that that person was actually in there, but he's just so hijacked that there's nothing at all that he could do about it, including this bloater that tore Perry's head off. Sorry, Rachel. I think maybe
Poor
sort
Perry.
of. I don't know how this works. This attraction of yours, like, I mean, if he doesn't die, then you can't be attracted to him. But if he does die, like, which is sadder?
No, I think if I like a character, it's just like signing his death warrant.
That's right. That's right. I'm still confused. That's fine.
We don't have to make sense of it. It doesn't have to make sense.
Yeah, let's keep going
It just
on.
is what it is.
Okay, well, let's keep going on the note of things that are in the video game that are not in the show but are in the show. When they get to it's basically a Fallout shelter. It's a Fallout center. It's a Fallout shelter that was converted into like a living space. and then they see on the wall this childhood drawing of Danny and Ish, and which is in the video games. And I took a little minute out because this is something that wasn't in the little set of notes. Because if you may have not noticed, Bridget's not here today. She's feeling ill. She has a fever now, and it's sucky. And I wish she was here. But what wasn't in her notes was the story of Danny and Ish. And actually, it's kind of interesting because it's like a foil. It's a crazy foil for this episode. So as it goes, I found this from Dexerto.com. That's DEXERTO.com. And here are the cliff notes. Right when the outbreak happens, Ish heads out to sea. So he has like a trawler. He heads out to sea. And this is originally, by the way, in Philly. So there's the channel near Trenton and all that stuff. So that makes sense. But eventually set up a safe house in a sewer in Pittsburgh. Kind of like, sort of like what it looks like here. Okay. When he
Even
needed
with the castles painted and everything.
Exactly.
They had the kids paint castles on it, yeah.
When he needed supplies, he headed out to nearby suburbs of Philly. Or Pittsburgh. No, it's Philly. Is it Philly?
It's Pittsburgh.
It's Pittsburgh. Okay.
It's Pittsburgh.
Yeah, you shouldn't confuse
Which
the two.
which in the show is Kansas City. It's
Right.
not Pittsburgh.
Right,
But,
exactly. But just keep in your mind Pittsburgh because that's what this story comes from, and who knows. So, okay, so he headed to the nearby suburbs to get supplies, to go back to the sewers. And when he went out one day, he met a family whose members are Susan, the mother, Kyle, and their children. Kyle's the father, children, right? Instead of shooting them, he traded with them. Ish eventually invited them to stay with him in the sewers. The relationship built the foundation of a new community, complete with a school, beds, and working showers. Danny arrived and befriended Ish. Danny's this new guy. They became friends. They assumed the role of, basically, the whole community referred to them as their protectors, which is why you see Danny and Ish, the protectors, are our protectors. Okay, they assumed the role of protectors, salvaged supplies and weapons, and ammo. So they went out, they did the things, they came back, they provided for the community, they protected them. Someone left one of the doors to the safe house open. The infected horde flooded in. Danny and Ish were separated. Ish escapes with Susan and some of their children. Ish escapes with Susan and some of the other children, not hers. None of whom were her own. Danny is presumed to be dead. We don't see. These are, by the way, these are all accumulated from notes that you find throughout the room in the game. So you kind of piece it all together. Kyle was locked in a room with Kyle, the husband, was locked in a room with the remaining children, his and some of the others. The infected are clawing to get in. It's implied from the note that he shot the children, then shot himself to spare them from the infected. It's sad. It's sad. But like this self-sacrifice, instead of, in this episode, I'm doing it all because I wanna. Or I'm doing it all to save one person. So Ish and Susan settled in the suburbs where they lived out the remainder of their days with their adopted children that they saved. In his final words in these notes, Ish doesn't give up hope. He says he doesn't give up hope. I'm summarizing right now. Because he's seen the good we're capable of. It was like the exact opposite of this episode. He goes on for Susan and their children, essentially. So it's just kind of interesting to see where the show is sort of headed in terms of like, we're going to have to face some choices, and some of those choices objectively don't sound like the choices that we typically would make in a TV series, but we're angling it in a way. Because I mean, you could look at it from Kathleen's point of view and totally agree with her in some senses. If not for the fact that these are children, right? If not for the fact that many things, like, oh, I have to take care of my people. But like, you would want to feel like that bitch has to die, right? But why do we side with Sam and Henry? Why? It could have just easily gone the other way. Why do we even side with Joel? Joel doesn't give a shit, really, sort of.
Because it's written to make us side with them. Mm-hmm. What do we always say about The Walking Dead and Negan? If we had been on Kathleen's side from the beginning, we'd probably be on Kathleen's side. It's all perspective.
Yeah. From the beginning of this episode, like, you hear what you hear in the first episode, and you know, oh, they're obviously the bad guys. At the beginning of this episode, when I watched it again, and I was looking at the collaborators, and it's a similar scene to when we see Doctor. Is it Edelman? Edelman, right? Or Edelman? I think it's
Edelman, I think.
Edelman
Yeah, something like that.
or Edelstein, maybe.
I think it's Edelstein. Yeah.
Let me. I could find it exactly. Hold on. Yeah, oh, it's Edelman. It is Edelman. There's a fact that I kind of wanted to bring up on that too, but it's a similar scene to Edelman, right? Here we go again. We have guns to these people's head, and this is from earlier, right? So we know that she kills these people without doing it herself the first time around. Then with Edelman, she specifically shoots him herself, meaning it's like I'm not pretending anymore. And part of me is actually with her in this episode as opposed to Edelman. It's almost as if they wanted to get her disgust factor out of the way the last episode in the present day, so that when you go back to the revolution, it's like it was always going to go this way. You do kind of see her side, that all these people contributed to the misery that they must have experienced. And Henry only further reinforces that when he's talking to Joel. Oh, is that Casey Fedra, the one that raped and tortured people? Yeah, that Casey QZ, let's say. So, I guess, well, what is my point with all this? I mean, I don't know. I tried to kind of see it from her point of view at some point, and then you get to the end, and you're really like, oh, this is ugly. This is not something I could get behind, I guess. I don't.
Well, even until the end, she can't let go of her anger and her hate, and neither can Joel. So they're almost they're reflections of each other.
Yeah.
She couldn't move on. Joel hasn't been able to move on. And then after losing Sam, Henry can't move on. He kills himself instead.
Yeah, and that's
They've
kind
all
of
taken different routes to deal with it.
right. These three
Because
mirror.
Joel didn't take the revenge route. Kathleen took the revenge route. Joel took the just cut everybody off and be by myself route. And Henry killed himself. But
Right. And that's
Ellie's the one that goes on.
right, and has to go on, right? Because she admits in this episode, and I like that this was revealed, is that her biggest fear is not, I'm not going to get those motherfuckers who tried to kill my family. It's not revenge or anything. She's just afraid to be alone. She's afraid to wander alone.
She's also afraid that if she's the only one who has immunity, that everybody is eventually going to die and she's going to be completely alone.
Yeah, yeah. Oh man, that is a good point to bring up for those who actually know what happens in the games. Because
Which I don't, so please don't say anything.
no,
Yeah,
and
I
that's
don't
fine.
either.
I wanted to say that to drop a pin in that because I haven't watched the games either, but I know things that happen, and I feel like we're on an interesting, slow moving collision course when it comes to some of these ideas that are going to be happening. Maybe
So
we don't know.
Obviously, the people who play the games kind of knew how the Henry Sam storyline was going to play out.
And it
But
did play out
Sherry,
the same way.
We don't know. We didn't know. What did what did
Okay.
you think when Ellie started smearing her blood all over
I
the plate?
actually did know that they were going to die. I didn't know how. I didn't know the context. I didn't know how. I had just heard, yes, they die. So I didn't know that they were going to. So I didn't know if her blood magic was going to work or not, but I didn't think it would.
But wasn't there had to have been part of you that like
I didn't
there was like, oh, was this in
I
the
hoped
game
it
either?
would.
I know. I didn't think it was going to. I'm watching it and I went, oh, Ellie, I don't think it works that way.
Right.
But in the back of my mind, I'm like, maybe.
But the most important thing was, even if it didn't work, she gave him the comfort,
She gave him hope.
hope that yes, this
Yeah.
could work. Even what I was wondering, which I guess they kind of answered at the end, was so clickers are only by hearing. They use sonar, clicking,
Yeah.
etc. So, as someone who is deaf, what would he do as eventually how would he be infected? You know what I mean? Like, how would it affect him as someone who is deaf? Which apparently it didn't change his hearing, but he was
Right.
also newly infected. What had he moved on? would he have been able to
Here,
like do
no.
the? No, that's what I was saying. Like I was like interested in what would happen.
He'd be the most helpless of clickers slash bloaters. It would be terrible. I mean, you'd feel sorry
Well,
for an infected
I
person,
I
sort
mean,
of.
since they're like all connected or whatever. Like if he got into a group with other ones and they were like food, he might have that sense. He wouldn't hear it, but he might have that sense like food this way. You know
But
what I
can you
mean?
imagine what that
Am I
would
making
look?
sense?
No, no, yeah, but can you imagine what that would look like? He'd have the sense and then run right into a wall. Because eventually the eyes, right? Because the eyes go out, right? And so that's
Mhm.
it. That's the last
So
one.
do they all eventually turn into the face blobby things?
I think
Is
over
that like the
time.
Well,
future for
those are
all of them?
those because I think so. Like, there's like 7 different stages. I was watching something about it
Oh
earlier.
boy.
There's the runners, which are the ones that like the early infection, when they still
Looked like
are
they were all
vaguely
kind of running.
human.
Humanish.
Well, these are the ones that are still vaguely human. Their skin is blotched, and they're just
Angry.
uncoordinated.
Very angry.
They're
Yeah.
uncoordinated, fast. They run fast, and then that moves into then there's clickers is a further iteration. That's like 3 or 4 steps down is the clickers. I forget what the shamblers. I think they're the ones that have the growths and shit that come out of their
Like
heads.
the one in the basement,
Yeah,
essentially.
like the one that got Tess. Like the one that got
Oh,
Tess.
yeah.
Like the one I'm making.
Right.
Mm.
And then you have the clickers and then you have the bloaters. But clickers are like after 10 years and bloaters are like after 20. So did anybody know Tess's backstory that they wrote for her
On the show or on the
on the
game?
show? On the
I
show.
know nothing.
No.
Okay. So the backstory was she was married and had a son, and then the outbreak they tried to survive, and her husband and her son turned, and she killed her husband, but she couldn't bring herself to kill her son, so she locked him in the basement, and so he's been down in the basement for 20 years. So he would be a bloater now. Her son would be a bloater. They never brought it out in the show, but so
Oh, let me drop a pin on that actually.
okay.
So I kind of imagine, given the fact that they bring the Danny and Ish story into this world, that you have to remember that what happened when that whole thing went down in this story was that somebody left the door open when Ish and Susan was her name, whatever her name is, and the other kids left. They locked all of the infected in, kind of like Madison and Diamond. She locked them in so that they wouldn't get out. And I kind of like to imagine that when the truck came down, that's Danny and Ish's infected, and they were able to get out again and save, sort of, at least Joel
So
and
we'll see
Ellie.
Susan again. Is that what you're saying?
No, no, they're dead too. That's fine. Maybe,
But one of
probably.
the theories was
She
definitely
could have
that
survived.
the little girl was one of the infected that had gotten
From the
that had been
There you
from the
go.
children.
So there you go. The circle is complete.
Yeah.
Yeah. No, so sorry. Continue your thought that Tess's kid was a bloater and they locked him,
Well, anyways,
or
I
he
was
would have
saying,
been a bloater.
so early on in the show, I can't remember if it's episode 1 or 2, but Ellie asked Joel about like the life cycles, and he said most last a couple of months,
Some 20 years.
some up to 20 years. So most only last a couple of months. They turn into the guy that was on the wall in the museum, the guy that was
Oh, in the
like
sewers
splattered.
or when they
No, it
were.
was in the museum. It was in the when they went down in the museum.
Oh, okay.
And it was episode 1 when they first went in the museum and the guy was all up against, or maybe episode 2.
Well, no, the episode one, the one that was against the wall, the first one you see, technically.
When they stop, they stop and they look at it really closely. I don't remember what episode it is, but
That might have been the first
I
one.
think that's what happens to most of them. And then you have they get to the shambler stage where they grow the shit out of their mouths and all that. But like the clickers and the bloaters, they've been around a long time, but they are not the majority. I don't think.
Oh, Thomas says, and this is something I don't even know that we brought up. He says Rip Tess, the character, but he also says the actress who played, was it Tess in the video game? I forget her name.
Yeah.
She had passed on. She's only 45, I think it was,
Yeah.
Oh my gosh.
if I'm not mistaken. So
The voice
The one that
actress?
plays her in the video. The one that plays
Yeah.
her in the video game.
exactly.
Oh. Dang.
Yeah, she played an
man.
actress in like real life too. So it's she was in this things that you would know too. I'll bring it up in the blog. I just can't recall it now, and I probably don't want to go back to look. But yeah, and that happened a couple weeks ago too. I think it was. Yeah,
I
unfortunately.
just I love that Sam got a little bit of being a kid before he died.
Yeah,
The
I
little
did
bit
too.
of he got to be a kid again. He got to play with Ellie, and they were kicking the soccer ball around and playing with toys and reading comic books and laughing and joking. And for that few minutes, and Ellie too, for that few minutes, they got to be kids and forget about what the fuck was happening. And I love that before he died.
Ugh, I have such a mix of emotions too.
And before the innocence in Ellie died, because I think, yes, she saw Tess get killed, and yes, she's seen other people get killed, and yes, she's killed other people, but I think that was different for her with Sam. Sam was just a little kid, just like her.
Close to home,
Yeah,
right?
she got to know him. She got to know him and be his friend, and they were gonna travel together, and now he's just gone. And I think that really, I think Ellie's still gonna be Ellie, but I think that is gonna affect her way more than Tess did.
And it's even sadder to know that like Ellie Tess kind of warmed up ish near the end, but it doesn't even matter if she did or she didn't. When you mark your development by those you lose along the way who protected you, think of what Tess's driving force to get Joel and Ellie out of there fast was. She has the cure. It's worth the risk. Do the things, Joel. Save the world. Then you have Sam, which is like just be a kid. Something Joel kept saying in the last two episodes. He's like, I wished you shouldn't have to be this way. It shouldn't have to be this way for you. Does it get easier as an adult? No. But that's not the way it should be. And so you lose Sam, you lose that part of you, the ability to actually be a kid. And you kind of see her change at the end of this episode. Is this how it's going to be for me? Okay, so now what's the next one that marks Ellie's loss? But like going back to Tess, her driving force was, well, I have to do it for Tess. I have to save the world for Tess. Sam, I have to be a kid for Sam. So what other thing is going to make her be the thing? Like down the line, when we start meeting these other narratives, and you learn, you pick up the things that people wanted you to be along the way. So like, what other things is she going to take in the future to shape the larger arc? I think I'm trying to say something without not saying something, but like, it's very very interesting to see where this is going. Okay.
When we get into the question of what is weighing the needs of the many against, the needs of the few or the one. But Ellie is different, isn't she? Because she is actually more important than most people. Even though most people don't know that. Is the cost of protecting Ellie worth, not even on a personal level, but just on the level of she may have the key to saving everybody.
Right.
But
And
after seeing humanity, how much of humanity is worth saving either?
well, that's a really really good point. So what I want to bring up first, and that's a really good question. Hold on to, is humanity at this stage worth saving? Like, and you take the idea of revolutionaries, and then you see what it actually looks like on the ground. It's like Joel says, people, right? People, right? People suck. Like even the people who claim they want the thing, the freedom. Yeah, they keep saying things like freedom, and fuck Fedra and and just all the things that people say when they want freedom, right? But what does freedom look like to them? Oh, let's just do the things they did to us, but like accelerated, maybe even worse. Like, say what you will about Fedra, but at least their trials were sham trials. The appearance of what it might look like for freedom. This was just like Banana Republic, not even Banana Republic. It was just all out chaos. Chaos. I mean, remember how they were saying collaborators give yourselves up and you'll get a fair trial. And we knew later on that wasn't going to be true. But what are they dragging behind them to inspire people to come out? And they were dragging a body with tons and tons of knives in the front of it, albeit slowly. They dragged the body out slowly in a tank. Anyway, no, but I wanted to actually touch on something specific, and that was what you'd said. Is it worth saving the one person if it means everybody else dies, or going after that one thing if everybody else, it's at everybody else's expense? Kathleen almost answers that question in a weird way. That Michael was worth it. Where's the justice in that? Why doesn't he get a chance? Why should he be robbed of the chance of that justice, that beautiful person that should exist in this world? And I think that's very interesting for people who know what happens down the line. That's a very interesting question, because what is life worth living if you're not protecting the things you love, or if you're not protecting something that is beautiful? Otherwise, you're just surviving. You're just going on for the sake of going on. And sometimes the beauty of a person shines so bright that to snuff it out, the world loses something. Even if you, quote unquote, like you said, Sharon, is humanity worth saving? Even. But people like her, like Ellie or Michael or Sam, like to snuff them out for something bigger, the world loses something tangible of value when you do that. So it's just it's something that like you don't really think about, because you look at the trolley problem, the utilitarian aspect of philosophy of thought. The trolley problem obviously is designed to confront you with a philosophical question of whether you would, kill the one guy on the tracks to save all the people in the trolley, or you'd be willing to derail the trolley for the one person that's on the tracks. The obvious logical answer is right. The one person on the track has to die to save all these other people. But what this series is teaching us is that, okay, now, what if you knew the person on the tracks? What now? What if that was your daughter? What now? There's not one person that would like derail that train in a heartbeat.
Well, I mean, that all comes back down to them or us, and that's the same thing that was going on in the Walking Dead. It was always them or us, that mentality. And I guess when you don't have a centralized unifier running through your society, the governmental agencies or
like Law and Order,
fire departments. I mean, whatever. There's nothing holding you all together. It just becomes us and them.
I mean, nobody's even picking up the trash, for goodness sake. There's no system in place. No, but you're right. And to kind of compare things, Rick is ready to sacrifice his own son's right arm or left arm, it was, to keep everybody else safe. And I think that was an interesting comparison, because there's a part of you, and I feel like I'm looking at Rachel with this one. Isn't there a part of you that says, there's no way I'm even harming my kid for the rest of these fuckers? That's it. I'm not that good a guy, right? She shakes her head, pursing her lips, saying no.
But if you're gonna get hurt, I'm gonna be the one to do it.
Oh, nicely done.
Hurt is different than like killing.
Dismembered.
Well,
right.
So say it was an arm. Let's call in question an arm.
Like if I had to break my kid's arm to save a whole community of people,
Oh.
I'd have to think about it.
Okay. And you know what? That's actually good enough, right? Because I know there's that inner part of you that's like, I'm the fucking hero of this story. Like, I'm gonna kill everybody to save everybody.
Say you had to cut one of his fingers off to save everybody.
Ooh, right? Oh, I can't wait.
It's pinky. He doesn't even need it.
The finger.
It's pinky.
Just the tip, the knuckle, right to the first knuckle, right? Just
but you have to do it.
Right.
I'd have to have a real long conversation with him beforehand.
There's no time.
We'll
talk about it later.
We'd have to talk about it.
Talk about it later.
We'd have to talk about it first.
No. You already killed somebody by the time you talk. Now 2 people got killed. Rachel, hurry up. Figure it out.
No pressure.
No pressure.
No pressure.
Sorry. No pressure. No, I mean, sorry, not sorry.
But anyway.
Do the things, Rachel. Do them now.
If it's going to be done, would it be better for you to do it or for somebody else to do it?
And you know what? As horrifying that it is that is that kind of Sophie's choice or whatever you want to call it. Yeah, I mean, truth is, I'd rather be me.
I mean, remember Old Yeller?
Barely, but yes, we all
I
kind of know
refuse to
it.
watch it. No, no.
I have the book. I never read it.
I read the book. I've seen the movie too, but I read the book.
Let's see. So let's see. What else do we talk about? Yeah, seeing Lois says the things you do for love. Yeah, yeah. Oh, and I wanted to say something Thomas said before. He says, "Why are you laughing at? Was it childhood trauma?"
No.
And it's because of your jokes. Yeah, Thomas. Oh, okay. So speaking of childhood trauma, okay. So something that it didn't dawn on me until watching this episode because I didn't know the man's name, but Dr. Edelman, right? We figure out his name, the guy Kathleen shoots in the first episode. We see him again in this episode because we do a flashback to 10 days ago or 11 days ago. And we find out that Dr. Edelman, most likely Jewish, shuttles to safety two individuals in the attic of a house. And I thought that was an interesting foil for like Anne Frank. And I was just like, I didn't see this. I didn't notice this the first time around. But I was like, interesting. Very, very interesting to see that. And of course, yeah, being grilled in almost the same manner. Or not the same manner, but like the idea of, you know, what happens to people who did this during the Holocaust. I think the story was in Holland, I want to say. Was it Germany? Was it Germany?
It was in Holland.
It was in Holland,
it was in the
right.
Netherlands.
So
Amsterdam. It was Amsterdam.
Oh, specifically.
I just listened to a podcast about what happened to Anne Frank after they were found at the annex, and how they did in the concentration camps and stuff. It was very depressing.
I didn't know that we knew what happened afterwards, but I guess time and records.
There was a lady who knew, because Anne Frank and her mother and her sister and the mother of the boy Peter was the young boy that she had a crush on, whatever, that stayed there too. His mother also, they all got sent to the same concentration camp at first. And even before Anne Frank's dad published her diary and she became a famous name, this woman had already published something about knowing Anne Frank's mother in the concentration camp. And from her, they got a lot of the information. Plus, there were some records left. But yeah, they followed her. I mean, they don't have specifics like they don't even know the specific day that she died or anything like that. But they figured out through records and from other people's accounts what happened to her for the most part. It was really interesting. How they found all the stuff out was really interesting, but it was also really, really fucking depressing.
Right, and just like them, or the people. I just imagine the fact that like, okay, just like it follows that they too, the Nazis too, must have done away with collaborators without a trial or anything like that, like extrajudicious killing. Or
well, I mean, it wasn't only Jewish people that were sent
right.
to country.
That's what I'm saying. Yes.
Yeah. It was homosexuals, people
Communists,
with disabilities, communists,
gypsies.
Gypsies. It wasn't Jew. I mean, the Jewish population was, of course, the larger section of it, but it wasn't all Jewish.
Yeah. But so when you see it, you can't unsee it, is what I'm saying. It's kind of all over the place. So let's see. I don't know what else do we want to talk about. Let's see. Okay, so let's just read what Thomas says. German sausage jokes are just the worst. WURST. I'm not reading the next one. I'm Jewish and I can't read that one. But it's on the screen if you have YouTube. So there you go. Oh, let's talk about the Savage Starlight comic book. This is something Bridget had mentioned in the last episode because we got, I don't think they wanted to take away from Bill's magazine too much in the truck. How she finds it. Oh, the pages are sticky. So funny. But they were supposed to bring it up in the truck. Instead, they decided to bring it out later in this, I guess, this playroom sort of community fallout shelter with all the toys and stuff. So they find the comic book. Sam and Ellie bond over it, and basically you get the title of this episode, which is Savage Starlight's catchphrase. And the full catchphrase is, see, it was do 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 do. Oh, goes to show I'm not going to use Google Docs again. Okay, so it's to the edge of the universe and back, endure and survive. Endure and survive being the title of this episode. So,
Which is ironic.
yeah,
Henry and Sam did not.
Exactly. Which it's kind of the irony of like do you sacrifice?
Perry.
Is it worth sacrificing that beautiful thing like Perry
Perry was a
in
beautiful
order to
thing.
survive? Is it worth surviving if something beautiful is taken out from the world? Like, because it's like endure and survive. That's redundant, right? Yeah, they're bang on.
It's not great. That was my. I'm sorry, this is not really, but that was my favorite line out of Joel. Was when Henry said it's kind of redundant, and his reply was like, "Yeah, it's not that great." But the way he said it just made me laugh so hard. It's like I've said before. It's,
not really
the
that
little
great.
things the actors do. It's the little things the actors do that make their performances so great, and it's just the way he delivered that line. Like right on top of when Henry said it, he just delivered. Yeah, it's not that great, but it was so good. Kudos to you, Pedro Pascal.
You know, on the note of that,
Yeah.
like, so one thing that I thought of in the beginning was I tried to really put myself in Henry's headspace, and that's how Henry is a teenager. These two were both born after the fall, probably, most likely. Henry seems to still be a teenager. And then you imagine, like, where are his parents? Oh, okay, so now he has to take care of Sam alone. How afraid do you have to be, or at least pretend to not be afraid, all the time? And now, everybody around you that ever existed around you, except for maybe Dr. Edelman, wants you dead. And probably Sam by association. And definitely Sam, you find out later, by association. How frightening is that? I mean, think of parents today, like Rachel. Like when you first have your child, you're holding this fragile thing in your arms. You're like, if I let go for 1 second, this child is damaged for life at best. Okay. But that feeling of like, this is a precious thing I'm holding. And then they grow up and that feeling, you start to get a little that, haven't fucked up yet, but it's still there.
Yet.
Now, Henry, children taking care of children, and I'll take it back to what you just said, Charity. Don't worry, but like and Edelman is looking at Henry. He's like saying, he's afraid because you look afraid, and Henry's trying, but he's not really succeeding. You get to the end, and Sam asks Ellie, are you just like never afraid? Essentially, he's like, you're just never scared? He's like, bitch, I'm scared all the time. And most of all, of being alone. And for some reason, like, because when she jokes and she says, of scorpions, he's upset. He's like, am I the only one? Am I the only one who's afraid? It makes you feel isolated and alone when others around you aren't feeling the same way that you do. Am I the problem? What's the point of me being here if everybody's going to be so afraid for me and I'm terrified? But when she finally admits that I'm afraid to be alone, you see it on his face. He feels a little bit better. He's like, I'm not alone. Oh, she's terrified all the time? Why didn't they tell me that? Okay, so we go back to Sharondy's comment about Henry and Joel joking about the stupid line, endure and survive. What the fuck is that? It's the first time I saw, and you see moments of like when Sam is playing, Henry actually allows himself to smile. It's like, I haven't heard that in so long. This kid's finally like being a kid. I can actually relax as the child having to be an adult all the time. Doesn't know what he's doing, I'm sure. But then when you get to the line where he says endure and survive, that's stupid. It's like, it's also the first time I saw Henry actually, and Joel by extension, like acknowledging that Henry's like a man. It's like, oh, we're bonding over this dumb thing.
Oh, they
dumb
were
adult thing.
two dads, you know, doing dad, watching their kids.
Yeah. Which
Even though Ellie and Joel both denied it immediately. He's not my dad.
not my dad,
Oh,
not at
fine.
all. Cargo, just cargo. But Joel doesn't. I mean, on that note, though, Joel still kind of doesn't want to react to Ellie having fun. Also, you still feel that little bit like I don't want to have attachment. And by the end of this episode, I also feel like Ellie herself, because Sam dies, is getting Joel's vibe. Is like, come on, let's go. Where's West? Okay, hurry up, old man. Like that kind of like, oh man, I don't want to have to get attached to this guy who's taking care of me because it's all just going to end up this way. I'm going to end up caring about him. He's going to die. He's obviously old. Oh, he's dead. He's dead me.
Obviously
God forbid
old.
we go up another flight of stairs. He's done. He's a done. He's a gonzo.
I mean, I totally get it, Joel.
Right? So, and Ellie does too. She's like, oh, man, if I have to go up another set of stairs and to wait for him to rest, like an oldie. So
I think
she's feeling it
the
too.
humor. I think the humor is what's really making this show. I mean, it's good. It's good. The show is good, but I think the humor is what's really elevating it. Because if you presented this show without the elements of humor,
You have The Walking Dead. No, I'm kidding. Sorry.
even The Walking Dead had
Yeah,
humor in
it
part.
did,
I
it
mean,
did.
it really did.
It did.
But I just, you couldn't take all this
Heaviness.
horrible heaviness without the humor in it.
By the way,
It's the
Tom,
same thing with Game of Thrones, by the way.
on cue, by the way, Thomas says 45 minutes is greater than 3 hours. They make me feel bad, Tom. It's an hour and 30 minutes in. Just so everybody knows in the audio podcast when I cut it down to an hour, basically. Well, just cut out all Tom's jokes from the audio podcast. We'll be down to 45 minutes. Oh, mission accomplished. Thanks, Tom. Okay. No, we'll release a separate episode with all of Tom's jokes and us reacting to them. How about that, Tom? You like that? I won't do it, but I'll say I'll do it. Just 'cause I'm so mean today.
Tom and I should have a joke off one night.
Oh, that would be like epic rap battles, epic pun battles.
We have a joke
like
battle.
this.
Actually, so Lois
Do it,
jumped.
Tom.
What was that? Yeah. Oh, we should make it a charity
Do
event
it over
too.
Jackbox too. There's
Yeah.
Joke Boat.
Joke exactly, which is constant joke boat. Lois says she hopped onto the YouTube. She says, "Well, he can't hear anything that would make it scary." Oh, she's probably a little bit behind. Thomas says the podcast doesn't start till I walk in. Metaphorically, if you walk in here right now, I will shit right now. Be like, how did you get in here? I know you're not that far away from me. How did you get in here?
I'm not doing a hot sauce challenge.
Thomas, you can do it in Sharondy's place. I would pay good money for that.
That means he'd have to come to the camp.
Oh, yeah. Sorry. Okay, let's keep going. Da-da-da. Yeah, I feel like, see, I want to go over what Bridget wrote too, because some of the things I really, Okay.
Dead air.
Right, exactly. No, fill in the blanks if you have anything else you want to talk about.
No, I've been tapped for a while. I'm just listening to you guys.
Well, I mean, Bridget's observations are much better, like woven into conversation, which is what I love the best about Bridget. She'll just throw in something. But yeah, a lot of this episode does lift shot for shot things from the game too, like the sniper scene that was in the game where Joel has to get in there and take him out, and even that one scene
It felt very, very video game-ish.
Right?
That whole scene did.
In the game, though, the guy's yelling insults and shit at you while he's shooting at you. Yeah.
Which, like, okay, I can see how cutting that out would have been like, okay, this is a little bit on the ridiculous. Like, there's ridiculous and there's too ridiculous. I liked that they changed it to be like, please don't, just wait here. I don't want to have to kill an old man, which goes to show like what it took to beat Fedra. Like,
And also,
everybody.
kind of how Joel has progressed, because old Joel would have just shot the dude straight up. He just walked in there and shot him. But I mean, he doesn't want to do it anymore. Plus,
Yeah.
I don't think he knows. I don't think he knows that that dude is connected to the Kansas City QZ until the radio goes off.
Till
I
after
don't,
he
because
kills him.
I don't think he even knows. He thinks it's just some crazy dude locked up in a house shooting at him.
You know what's interesting about that is when I first watched the episode, I actually thought that, oh, this is just some old coot that's just trying to kill
Yeah,
people.
that's what I thought.
Right?
That's
You
what I thought.
you
It's just
get
some
up there and
crazy
it
old dude
is.
out. Yeah.
But he's with the QZ. But I didn't want to say this at first, but I noticed that, like, isn't this old guy almost like this weird, I don't know, he's kind of dressed like Joel in a way. I feel like he was looking at himself like, just do you, bro. You don't, why do you got to join these people? Why do you got to do these things? Do you know what Kathleen's doing right now? She's trying to kill these kids. Oh, you're trying to kill these kids too? Oh, don't do it, man. Just put the gun down. Live the rest of your days. You got this far, man. You got this
But
far. Put it down.
if
It's just kids.
if Kathleen had found out that he didn't and let him go, then he'd be dead anyway.
Right. It was kind of like what I was saying last week, right? Like, oh, do you really want to do you really want to upset the man that beat the man? Really? Getting extrajudiciously killed, like all the collaborators and all the Fedra
I
workers.
mean, so what is on The Walking Dead? One of the things I think it was they brought it to Carol, was you want to take out the head of the government, but you don't have anything to replace it with, right? When they're talking about Commonwealth, you
Right.
want to take out the head of the beast, but you're not replacing it with anything. Well, that was part of the problem. What happened here in Kansas City after they took out Fedra, instead of setting up a fucking working government, they focused solely on revenge because of Kathleen. So instead of all those resources, they could, yes, you have your fucking debacle, your debauchery the first night, and you fucking kill all the Fedra people, whatever. The next day, it's down to business. You've got to set up the government. You've got to keep things running. But they don't do that. They take all their manpower and everything into finding collaborators.
Right.
And because of that, their fucking city falls because nobody's prepared and nobody's ready.
Right.
And I'm talking about in the city too. Like the people in the actual QZ are not prepared for this horde that's going to run at them. They haven't had to deal with a horde in years and years and years.
Right, and they refuse to close the doors, which I'm very nervous. I was nervous about the entire 2 episodes. Like, there's probably innocent people there too. Right? I have to assume, right? So, no, and you're absolutely right. I mean, like, even after, let's go back to the Holocaust. Even after the Holocaust, they had trials. They went through all the inventory, everything they could get their hands on, to say, here, this is why you're being put to death. Here's the list. And so this way, everybody can at least feel good about it. But let's take that and put that aside. I think up until like a certain point, actually, I felt bad for the people, these revolutionaries, to like not the people partying and stabbing and raping and humiliating and then killing people out in the street. But there's got to be people out there that, you know, like kids and stuff like that, and old people, like the old coot up in the mansion shooting at the 2 kids. Maybe I don't feel that bad, but up until when Perry says, "No, we loved him too, and we're with you," that's when I said, like, "Ooh, check, please." I can't get behind that, because part of you looks at Perry, and first of all, he's gorgeous, but part of you looks at Perry and you're like, "Oh, he's like sus. He's looking sus at Kathleen." Even Kathleen picks up on it. Like, she's being sus, but she helped us win this thing. If not for her rage, bruh, she helped us win this thing, right? But like, okay, I'll go along with it. Let's just keep going. But then he says, "Yeah, we loved him too, and 100% I'm ready to kill kids." That's when I was like, check, please. I'm out.
Did she? I mean, they see it as she helped them win it, but if Michael's death was actually the catalyst of the ultimate revolution that led to the end of Fedra, then technically Henry
Yeah,
was
as I was saying
the
earlier.
one that
Yeah,
Henry was the one that was responsible for them being free.
But I guess if we're gonna go with that metaphor, like he would still stand trial, and he'd be the catalyst, and he would be, here's the things that you did, but you know, you don't like give an award to the person who martyred the other person that made everybody revolt, right? You don't do that. You just nobody gets.
I'm just saying,
Pontius
if you're
Pilate
looking
didn't get
for
an
someone,
award
if
for
you're looking
killing
for
Jesus
someone to
or
thank, I mean,
something, whatever. And I keep getting that one wrong, but whatever, it doesn't matter. Like the Romans don't get a pass, right? Anyway, all right. So yeah, let's respond to Lois. Are you going to be at the camp? Yeah, we're going to be at the camp in spades, brother, sister, mother, uncle, daughter, for everybody. It's not just for Lois. So yeah, he says more of a chance to. Okay, nope, just can't say that out loud. Okay, so I don't know if there's nothing else, and I'm sure there is. I think let's call this one, huh? How about it? I'm hearing yawning. I
Yeah,
just
sorry.
heard Lois yawn, actually too.
Yep.
And Tom was yawning like 45 minutes in. So
Cutting into my Yellowstone time.
so with that, everybody, thank you for joining us for this episode of our coverage of The Last of Us, the 5th episode of its inaugural season, which is 9 episodes, by the way. I just double checked. What was originally going to happen was they were going to split the first episode into 2, and they fell on 9. So like they just combined the first 2 episodes. That's why in IMDb it says incorrectly says 10. Whatever. Just wanted to get that out of the way.
IMDb.
I did clear it
Getting
up
our
in the
hopes
blog.
up.
So and link to an article explaining everything. So everybody, Lois farted. Okay. Oh, so let's keep going. Now, anyway, so listen, if you like what you heard from this episode and our discussion, consider rating our podcast at ratethispodcast.com/squawkingdead. 5 stars and an eggplant is all we need to know that you love us. But tell us what you liked. Tell us what you didn't like. Tell us what we missed. But remember to tell us after every episode. And if you really like what we're doing and you want to see us grow and you want to see good things come for us. No, I'm not saying this right. If you like what we're doing in general and you want to be more involved in what we do, the first big step that you can take is following us on either ko-fi.com/squawkingdead or patreon.com/squawkingdead. You don't have to buy us a coffee to show your support. You don't have to join a membership tier for as little as $1 a month and join our Discord. All you got to do is follow us. When you do, you'll know when we record. You'll know when we do anything cool. You know when we drop any bonus content. But more than anything else, it's a little signal to us that you are interested in being more involved and liking what we do. And you want to support us in the free and meager way of just following us so that you know when things pop up and any cool things that you get first dibs on. But if you do decide to buy us a coffee, you'll get 30 days of support about content. And if you do join a membership tier for as little as $1 a month, you'll get Discord access, you'll get the unedited episode recordings, and a whole lot more. With that, everybody, I've been your host, David Camion. I was joined by the very relaxed Cosmon09 Rachel Burt and the very yawny Sharon D, a.k.a. Blazing Gardner. Big ups. Take care, everybody. Thank you for joining us on this episode.
I'm not the only one.
Oh no, I've been yawning, but like it's like an internal yawn.
I just keep covering my face.
Actually,
I've been trying to
my yawns turn out to be like Lois's fart. Just it's inside and just doesn't go anywhere until after. But anyway, take care, everybody. We'll see you. Have a good night. We love you, and we can't wait for the next episode. We might.
Can't we though?
We might.
I can't stand for anybody else to die.
We might see Tommy. Who knows? Oh no, I hope he doesn't die in the next episode. Bye,
He's a
everybody.
bloater.